And he told me that he saw Curtis up at the strip club popping bottles, making it rain on chicks with money that he got from me, and had the nerve to call me up talking about what I'm cooking for dinner. He hungry. That's when I knew. I said, I said, he must be hitting the pipe, getting high or something. No, girl. I'm done with that. Curtis is past tense, Bill. Well, let me finish telling you about me and Pablo. So, girl, you know I had to drop it like it's hot, cold butter bean. Come and get your supper. Girl, I did. I broke my rule. After Curtis, who was my one exception to the rule, after him, I said I was not going to get romantically involved with no more guys coming fresh out the pen. Matter of fact, I know what I told you. I told you no more PPP. No more post-penitentiary pussy. That's what I told you. But girl, I don't know. Something about him. He real confident. He real political. He took me to meet his parole officer. And girl, come on, Bambi. Be eating apple pieces on his hand. And I did check his rap sheet. Yeah, right up online, right up on the internet. www.jailbird.com. It was right up there. It said possession of narcotic with intent to distribute heroin and cocaine, class A felon. So he didn't lie. He said they locked him up for committing a crime against poverty. I said crime against poverty. Well, let me think about that one, Pablo. I mean, now he knows selling drugs was wrong.
But on the real though, Mom, if the government was really serious about ending the war on drugs, they wouldn't keep coming after the petty street foot soldiers or the low-ranking commanders, you know what I mean? Because as soon as you lock one up, it's going to be another one that hit the block and take his spot. They just going to keep coming back like roaches. You got to cut off the head of operations, the suppliers. You think about it, Mom. With all this top-of-the-line 007 Matrix-type I-Spy shit the government got, they could probably see me and you sitting right here having a conversation right now, Mommy. I was reading something the other day in the New York Times, because you know I read the New York Times. And on Tuesday, they got the science section. And they got a camera that looks like a bumblebee, Mom. A fucking bumblebee. So you think it's a bug or a fly buzzing around, your ass is under surveillance. They got shit like that. So you mean to tell me they don't know when they can't see who's shipping what in, who's flying what in, who's supplying what to who? You think about it, Mom. The only reason why drugs is still rocking and flowing is because Old Glory is in on the cut. The financial benefits from the drug economy is too great to shut this shit down. This is a capitalist country, Mom. Drug money, blood money, is still money. As long as that shit accumulates and circulates by any means necessary. This is the wild, wild west. So I figured, when the wrong, do as the wrongs. Word up. Girl, God bless the internet. Call me Google Mommy. You are not going to believe this. Girl, this prison shit really is slavery. Like, it's not a metaphor. No, girl, they got this shit hooked up. It's a cash cow, girl. It's a damn racket. Yes, girl, some of these prisons are privately owned. Yes, private companies own some of these prisons, meaning I could go down on Wall Street today and I can invest in some stock in a private prison and I can make some money off of your black ass sitting right here, right now. You think I didn't think about it? Girl, the privatizations of prisons is financially driven, accumulating huge profits up in this piece. Trust and believe, most of y'all sitting up in here, y'all not sitting up in here for punishment, y'all sitting up in here for profit. Matter of fact, well, they got a company over in England that owns 2 private prisons here in America. I said, well, goddamn, this shit is international. Everybody's in on the American prison gravy train. So companies, they get to hire cheap labor without having to worry about workers' comp, sick pay, labor unions. Girl, it's an economic orgasm. It's a corporate wet dream.
The telephone companies alone are making billions just off of the telephone calls. The construction company contract, the people that build these prisons, that's a multi-million-dollar contract. The company that makes that jumpsuit you wear and them skippies on your feet, that's a multi-million-dollar contract. All them cookies and potato chips and hair grease and toothpaste and all that shit y'all be buying in commissary, that's a multi-million-dollar contract. The CEOs, the judges, the lawyers, the DA, the cops, the electricians, the bus companies, girl, niggas is keeping a lot of motherfuckers on the payroll. Soon as you see the handcuffs go ka-clink, you hear the cash register go cha-ching, ka-clink, cha-ching, and they got y'all up in here making products for 15, 20 cents an hour like it's Taiwan. Made in prison is the new China. And then me and Pablo, we watched this ill documentary the other day. It was about this judge in Pennsylvania that was getting paid by a private prison to sentence kids to their facility to keep the beds filled. Them numbers, baby, I'm telling you, it's a damn racket. Kids was getting sentenced for bullshit like stealing a CD at Walmart or having a fight at school. Something like 3,000 kids. Yes. Kids for cash, that was the name of it. And girl, the motherfucking judge got caught and he got sentenced to 28 years. Ooh, me and Pablo was so mad. I was like, oh my God, thank God it made it to the news. But then I was like, but yo, babe, I said, how many thousands of us is being sold down the river and nobody's going to ever know because it don't ever make it to the news? Yeah, girl, all this shit is domestic terrorism if you ask me. Right after 9/11, everybody running around talking about Al-Qaeda this and Al-Qaeda that. Black people, we ain't never worried about no ISIS or no damn Al-Qaeda. We worried about Al-Cracker, but not no Al-Qaeda. And Bin Laden, he had more videos out than Beyonce. And they couldn't find his ass for 8 fucking years. Give me a break. But they found that oil on day one, didn't they? Then they started their war in Iraq and they got paid like a motherfucker. Yeah, because, girl, you know it was only about the oil any damn way. That's the only thing this country cares about is the almighty dollar. War is big business. And if we're at war, which we most certainly are, I done earned my stripes. I done served my country, 'tis a thee, very well during these war times, supporting our urban street soldiers formerly in the trenches on the front lines of Red Hook, Bed-Stuy, Brownsville, Queensbridge, Jamaica Ave, 125th, Harlem World, Boogie Down Bronx, Gun Hill Road, Strong Island. You feel me? I'm serving a Yankee Doodle motherfucking dandy up in this piece. I'm a true patriot, a real patriot. Harriet Tubman, have you clutching your pearls type patriot, original black warrior queen, wild woman who runs with the wolves in Underground Railroads type patriot, and in the tradition of wartime beavers, I too give encouragement and inspiration for our POWODs, for our prisoners of the war on drugs, and our GI, government inmates. I ring the alarm, I conjure mix and I stir with my charm. I was voted #1 prison industrial complex pinup, winning over Rihanna and Beyonce. Yes, I beat them bitches. I was shocked. I was posed on top of a pile of commissary bags with my fists in the air. Sexy and political. Gotta have a strategy, cause shit with this devil is critical. We're under attack since way back, but watch me now, use everything I got, load my Glock, wake up the sleeping giants on the block. I stay woke. What, you thought I forgot, motherfucker? This is a state of emergency, and black love is kryptonite for white supremacy, so let's get it. After a conversation with me, you'll be clapping your guns to get free. Info loaded in my clip, shiny gloss on my lips. You looking thirsty like you want to take a sip. Yes, I am the one with the gift to unlock your mind from the lies. All my people serving time. You need me to feed you. Neanderthal in corporate suits, the greatest parasite, bloodthirsty sensation, American mosquito in the zombie nation, plantation to lynching, Jim Crow to prison. Who you really be if you ain't fucking with me? Yeah, huh? No identity. So fill your maggot belly up with nigger snacks and cake. I'm an old school ninja. I know your expiration date. Karma is a coming, going to seal your fate. So I put a little honey on my shiny black blade. All light, no shade. Ha! So these devils can't hide. Surprise! I bring the motherfucking heat. Ha! So I can bang against the beast. So I can bang against the beast. So I can bang against the beast. So bust it. When I told Pablo, I ain't never seen no deer up close. I ain't never rode no horse or chased butterflies in green pastures and no shit like that. He said I was being neglected. He told me he wants to take me upstate to meet his personal Bambi, show me things I've never seen before. I said, boo-boo, if it's one place I have been and seen, it's upstate. Trust me on that. I have seen many a breathtaking countryside. Eastern Correctional Facility is beautiful, magical, I tell you. The outside of the facility looks like a 17th century castle, absolutely enchanting. Bedford Hills, the mountains are simply divine. So majestic they kiss the sky. The Hudson River shimmers by Sing Sing, sparkling like glitter or diamonds dancing in the sunlight. Mohawk Correctional is awesome in the fall. A painted forest, a spectacular pageant of neon pink and orange and Bordeaux colored leaves. Elmira's manicured lawns are adorned with delightful horticultural arrangements and looks like a fancy college trimmed with shiny barbed wire. Green Haven's landscape is a glorious tableau of plush foliage along the cobblestone path leading up to the entrance that's flanked by two tremendous fortress towers. Woodburns, weeping willows, and pine trees. Looks like something out of a Lord of the Rings movie. Simply beautiful. You name the mountain, the hillside, and the rural town. I know the prison and the bus route. Betsy LaQuanda Ross. I am your personal prison GPS.
Visitation hours are over. So what we want to do is just take some time just to kind of share pedagogy and share a little bit of our pathway. This is a piece that Liza wrote, and she is the solo performer of it also. And at MBT, what we seek to do is we have a pathway called holistic producing, where we really looking at the piece as and the artistic pedagogy or the artistic thought of the artist as a sacred thing that doesn't need to be touched, and that we align it with other elements that allow for it to have a holistic experience, to engage and to engage all senses, ideas for human transformation. For us, art is the gateway for human transformation. It's been that way for nearly half a century, as we near our 50th year, our 50th season next year. And that holistic producing really comes from a space of finding incredible artists with incredible work, pairing it with a dramaturgical lobby exhibition. So for this show, we did an exhibition where we turned our lobby space into a prison. So that when you walked in, you felt like you were walking to a visitation center. We put fences up, and then what we did is that we aligned our walls with information around the impact of the prison industrial system, not on people, but on Black women in particular. So really helping to put a name and face and numbers to this critical juncture that we're now facing, and how can we be a part of that social justice aspect? How can we be a part of the galvanizing of this conversation? Added on to that, what we did is that we partnered with about, I would say, 10 NGOs who are on the boots on the ground. Because MBT, we're not the boots on the ground. We're not trying to be the boots on the ground. We're just trying to be, we think of ourselves as the cup, the bowl, that can help to navigate this large question. And what we seek to do is be the person that puts the fruit inside. So we have the artwork, we have the dramaturgical lobby exhibition, and now who are the NGOs doing this work so that when people are excited or they're frustrated or they're trying to figure out like, how can I actually make some change about this? That we become responsible because we've now awakened your senses, hopefully. We now awakened your ability to want to do something, that you now have a place to go. So we aligned with about 10 NGOs who are doing this work about changing the prison industrial system culture, changing policy, and actually giving advocacy and support to the victims who are on the other side. As Liza, you could talk about the title of Peculiar Patriot and where it came from, but let me just finish this last bit. Then I just want to give a clear understanding of what we mean by holistic producing. So you come in, you have that exhibition, you get to see these NGOs, then you see this great piece of art, and then afterwards we do a talk back. So Sade, who will be here later on tonight, who's the CEO, and myself, artistic director, we host a talk back with the community. We believe that it has to be a full circle conversation, that it can't just be a one-way track where you're just kind of like coming for a transaction. There has to be an exchange and the beginning of a curation of understanding of reciprocity, equity, and inclusion. So this really allows for the final aspect of holistic, where the audience, participants, we think of unknown activists, we help to activate something inside of them. We then begin to create another piece of art at the very last part, which is something that changes every single night, because audiences change every single night, and we become present to that. And then lastly, we'll do this, at this we do a unifying breath. Just help to heal and again, human transformation. You're going to create a space for human transformation. If I think about the 60s, and I think about what's happening in the 60s, and I think about what's happening now, there's opportunity for us to transform and evolve the conversation. And I think that a lot of what happened at the 60s and what can happen now is that we can put self-care at the forefront of the conversation. So as we're being radical in our tongue, being radical in our action, being radical in how we think about creating healing spaces, we're also being radical in how we're taking care of self and how we put that care at the forefront. So then we are giving an example to the future generations as a gift, saying that you can create change in the world in which you seek, but you also can live a healthy, abundant, whole life and know thyself from a whole space. So if you want to go into Peculiar Patriot, and then we'll take questions. And then I just wanted to give that little bit so you get a full scope of the magnitude of the opportunity that National Black Theater presents to the field and to our community at large. And if you want to go into what the title of Peculiar Patriot, because I think it's very important.
Sure, I'll just give a brief explanation on the title, The Peculiar Patriot, but I have to put it in context first.
Yes, please.
I started working with the prison industrial complex at Rikers Island in 1998, so I've been working with incarcerated adolescents for 20 years in multiple capacities. And when I first wrote the piece over 10 years ago, prison industrial complex, mass incarceration, was not in the zeitgeist. It was something that people were not talking about as they are now. I consider myself an artivist, so I use my art to channel my activism. So I'm an artivist. And so I wound up touring excerpts of this play in 35 penitentiaries across the country because theaters were not, at that time before MBT, right, were not giving me space. And so I toured it in 35 penitentiaries across the country and had a phenomenal experience with incarcerated populations. The name Peculiar Patriot, peculiar comes from the word, in the antebellum South, peculiar institution was a euphemism for slavery. Because slavery was too dirty of a word, so they used the word peculiar institution to replace the word slavery. And I thought about, fast forward now, and how the prison industrial complex is slavery remixed, morphed. And so I like the term peculiar. We're still dealing with this peculiar institution, which is prison, which is slavery remixed. And patriot comes from, you know, the support of a nation of people who are behind the wall. And when I went to go, this was over 10 years ago, I went to visit my boyfriend at the time, who was incarcerated. And to go upstate, you had to go to Columbus Circle. This is the old Columbus Circle, and they were at 12 o'clock at night, and there were about 10 or 15 fleet of Greyhound buses. And people would get on the buses, and I saw all, and this is my first time, so I'm like Bambi, I'm like, what's going on? But I had to go to Columbus Circle, and I just saw hundreds of people, women and children and mothers and fathers and bags, and they're boarding these buses that were taking them to the different facilities upstate. And I immediately said, oh my God, this is a love story. Look at all this love, getting on the bus to travel 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours to visit with a loved one for a couple hours, get back on that same bus, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours to go to work, and we're passing them by every day. And I said, these are patriots who love these soldiers who are behind the wall. So it's a different war, it's a different kind of soldiers, so we are peculiar patriots. So that's where the name Peculiar Patriot came from.
So I can take about 2 questions, and then I'm going to close out in the tradition of MBT just so you get a full gambit of the experience. Like, this is an MBT satellite.
And I have to say, I am so grateful for MBT, because when I was doing the, I get choked up because I've been doing this for so long and doing it kind of bare bones this way, as you saw, and so partnering and having the opportunity to work with MBT, where they gave me the full support of production. I mean, you had to come see the production. I mean, we had set, sound, light design. I mean, I got the support that every artist needs, and I got the development time that every artist needs, development time to develop, and be in a laboratory with the dramaturg and the director. I had never had that before, so I'm just so grateful that I had the opportunity to do the production on the level that I always envisioned it, and even beyond. It took me beyond what I envisioned it, working with Talvin Wilkes and Rudy Evans, and I mean, just the whole creative team. So, I just had to say that. So,
Oh, they want to give you a mic just so that the people upstairs, if there are people upstairs, they can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So first of all, thank you so much for your performance. And I have a question. In your time working with incarcerated adolescents and youth, do you think there's been any kind of shift in the way that we view young people, specifically young people of color? Because the controversy during the last election was when Hillary, back in the day, she was talking about super predators, and she apologized for it. But to me, it seems like maybe we've replaced the vocabulary, and now we call people thugs, and we have urban, just the same way that we've replaced the language, with these peculiar institutions. They're still there. It's just that we call them different things. So it seems like the attitudes regarding, young black kids hasn't really shifted. We still view them as dangerous, and we still see, prisons as a way to populate them. And then I guess the second thing I have is just, I feel that I guess the way we think nationally about the way we punish people, it seems to me is very sadistic in terms of just putting somebody in jail, taking away their freedom. That should be the punishment. But when you hear people talking, oh, they deserve this to happen in jail, or I hope this happens to them in jail, they usually talking about assault or rape, and it's like, no, why would we want isn't taking away somebody's freedom enough punishment? And there was a recent instance where a security guard was attacked at Rikers, and the knee-jerk reaction was, the next day the Corrections Officers Association is calling for, oh, we need to go back to solitary confinement for young people because the guard was attacked by a 16-year-old, I think. And so it doesn't really seem like our perceptions regarding young black people have shifted, and it doesn't seem like our perception about how we punish people, or what criminal justice is, has really shifted.
Well, yes, and in 2015, Rikers Island eliminated solitary confinement for 16 and 17-year-olds. So for me, as an institution, that was a huge shift and a great thing. And then the next year after that, they got rid of solitary confinement for the 18 to 24-year-olds. So, and I was part of the first group of what they call program counselors that they literally dropped in the cells with these young people because they didn't have solitary confinement and they needed something to do with these young people. So they're trying to figure out what can we do, how can we do something different. So it's not perfect, it's going to be bumpy, it's going to be messy, but I think that there's small incremental changes. There's a lot more that has to be done. And the fact that there's a closed Rikers campaign that is now putting in people's minds, whether you agree with it or not, or there's this problem, it's problematic on both sides, but people are now thinking that what is New York going to do without Rikers Island, and forcing people now to have conversations about restorative justice, bail reform in a real way, because we have to think about life in New York without a Rikers Island. So it's really putting now the focus on imagining what New York is like without Rikers. So I think that this is this will become a national model, and all those community-based organizations who are on the ground now are like, hey, we've been here. Okay, now there's support around those, wheels that have already been operating. Now they're getting support. So I see it as a good thing, and it's messy, and it's not quite fixed nearly, but at least there's a focus on it.
Yeah.
And there's a consciousness shift, because we're starting to imagine, no Rikers, what does that mean? What does that look like? What do we have to do? So I encourage that imaginative thinking to keep going.
And just to add on is that the imagination aspect, the ability to speak the imagination into the world, is a vision that someone has to hold true for another generation, that it might not actually happen in your generation, in your sightline, in your experience of it, but if you can hold true, and this is what I believe that many of the pioneers of the 60s were able to do, if you're able to hold true an anchoring vision that embedders the world, I imagine that the universe catapults that and potentially puts that into a forward trajectory, and that it becomes a communal response of how do we hold that, so that it might not be for us, but it's for the embetterment of humanity. Like, if the real quest is about the embetterment of humanity, when I think about the 60s, when I think about what's happening now, if that is the true response that we're actually on a quest for, it is a long-term work, it's not immediate work. It is something that goes against our society's construct of social media and like this popcorn fixed society, and that the idea of creative imagination and speaking that into creative works like this, to many of the conversations that we're going to have this afternoon, all of those create vacuums in the universe for another possibility to happen that actually disrupts the normal flow of action. And so is it a quick fix? Will it happen right away? No, but to what Liza said, it is the idea of closing Rikers is actually something that people are actually talking about. Is a shift in paradigm. It's a shift in the paradigm. The universe has already crafted a new way of being and acting. We have to wrap up, so I'm going to do a unifying breath real quick, just so that we can get the whole gumbo, jambalaya of National Black Theater.
And we did this every night. Every night.
So if everyone put their 2 feet flat on the ground, connecting yourself to Mother Earth, allowing the energy from Mother Earth to travel up through your legs and travel up through, and then allowing the crown, the royal, the abundant you, the energy above you to travel through the crown of your head, the royal you, to travel and land into the center of your system. I'm going to invite us to take a breath together. When we take a breath together, I'm going to ask that we breathe in possibility, healing, love, light, and allow it to root in the center of our system. And I'm going to give you a little bit around my technology around breath so that we're all on the same page. Breath is a very important thing. Breath is the thing that allowed for this instrument, this vessel, this machine to operate. So with that, we're going to take a unifying breath, knowing that the space and time in which we're able to occupy with each other will never happen again. This, right now, this moment is a sacred algorithm. And with that, we're going to honor it with a unifying breath. And when we breathe in all those words. And when we exhale it as a gift, so that it wraps around everyone in this building, everyone in this room, so that we walk out as lighter, brighter, abundant human beings, able to do the work we were called on this planet to do. So count of 3, inhale in, exhale out, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. 1, 2, 3, inhale. Then exhale. Ashe, enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you all.